that variations and classification or emulsification, something word accumulation, accumulation and variations.
Accumulation. What is accumulation we were talking about? And I gave you some sheets to solve and come back.
No, ma'am. You just gave few important points to note it.
Okay. So yeah, this is what we have done on the benefits of we have even discussed on what are the benefits of variations and accumulations, right? And why is cheetah is stronger? Lifespan we have discussed. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the lifestyles and changes? Why is there a greater diversity? And how are bacteria after having a new type of variations could show better mode of survival even to the heat mode. So these all we have seen. And now let us go back to the next part of generation. What do we call about subtle difference? We were talking about, yes. Yes.
Ma'am, yesterday you taught anything. You sent a link, right? About here data.
Yes.
At Hindi class time, I think you sent the day before yesterday, 12:50 p.m.
Yeah. As soon as I finished the class, the same recorded video for those who were absentees who couldn't attend, I have posted it in the WhatsApp group. So those who have missed that class, they are supposed to at least go through the video that has been shared and then come. And now if you ask about those doubts, we will not be able to complete the syllabus. So it's your duty to see that, understand and come up. Now you should not ask me what is accumulation, what is variation, because everything is explained in yesterday's class. So that cannot be repeated again. So now we have talked about accumulation and variations in yesterday's class that were, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of it. So now we are going to talk about what do you mean by subtle differences. So first one, Arbaz, will you please read out what is the first one? Unmute and do it quickly.
Yes, ma'am. The original organism at the top will give rise to, say, two individuals similar in body diseases but with suitable differences.
It's subtle differences. You have seen that this organism has given rise to two, and we found only some differences in their maybe facial. Otherwise, everything is same. And then what is the second one, Mujtaba? Mujtaba, please read out the second one. What is written here?
Yes, ma'am. Each of them is turn will give rise to two individuals in next generation.
Yes, mute. When somebody is reading, the others in the class must not make noise because we are not able to hear what exactly they are reading. And when you read it, you should read in such a fashion that others should be able to understand. So each of them in turn will give rise to two individuals in next generation. So you have seen that these two individuals have now given rise to some other individuals. So now you can just see how this because this is a parent, and these are, if you say that father, sons, and then, for them, he becomes a grandfather. Okay. Then sons of their sons. So you can see the variations from there. From the father, the sons were having a subtle variations. But if you compare, father and grandchildren, you find more more differences. So this keeps on happening as the divisions takes place. Now, if you read the third one, what is it? What does the difference from each other shows? So, Alina, will you please read it? Alina is not there. Yes, Aisha Khan.
Each of the four individuals in the bottom row will be different from each other. While some of this difference will be unique, other will be
Inherited.
inherited from their respective parents from were different from each other. Selection of inheritance by environmental factors from the basic of evolutionary process.
Forms the basis for evolutionary process. So what happens is here, each individual, if you look at the four individuals from the bottom, you see that, as I told you, from the grandparent to the grandchildren, you find quite different, more differences. Whereas, you know, from father to the sons, you could see some subtle differences. So each of these four individuals have shown some differences from each other, some differences or the other. You can see that because they are colored to show you that there is some differences that has occurred. So these are called, so while some of these differences will be unique, others are inherited. So maybe some are unique and some are inherited. If you look at it, if you see, all of them has got some black, somewhere the black color is there to indicate that they have inherited some qualities from the grandfather also. Okay, and so somewhere you are getting that this green color shows that they have inherited some characteristics from their father, and red color here shows that they have inherited some qualities from their uncle also. So that is how, you know, the characteristics are, these are called inherited. We call it hereditary. We say that it is hereditary characteristics from parents, grandparents. This keeps evolving. So at the selection of the variant by the environmental factors, you know, environment plays a very important role. As I told you, during pollination, when cross-pollination takes place, because of the winds, insects, animals, anybody can carry the pollen of one flower to some other flower, and we don't know what would happen and what would be the different evolutionary changes. It could be the climatic changes, it could be because of the pollution or new inventions. We just don't know the innumerable factors that are responsible for this evolutionary process. Whereas, what are the evolutionary process we have discussed yesterday? Can somebody brief it quickly? We were talking about evolutionary process, how it occurs. We have seen that how a wolf, you know, an example of a wolf and dog was given. So do you remember, and can somebody quickly revise it? What happened to a wolf after some evolutions, years of evolution? Yes, Ramsha, explain. Yeah, Ramsha.
What should I do, ma'am? Explain it in odd words.
Yes. We were talking
Okay.
about evolution. So how does evolution takes place and what changes does it bring?
Okay, evolution means getting a new one. So in the second point, it says each of them in turn will give rise to two individuals in the next generation. So you can see there are two pairs, and in each pair there is a
So
male
this,
and
in
female.
this, you know, how many years will it take for these individuals? Like from grandfather to grandchildren, how many years does it take?
It will take.
How many years you think will it take?
It will take 1 to 2 years only, ma'am.
In 2 years up from father, you know, the children grow and then they have grandchildren in 2 years.
No. The upper one who is one, who is not in a pair, they are the grandparents, right?
Yes.
So these are the father and mother who are in a pair, right?
Okay. For example, you know, father and mother, no, first one is grandfather, grandmother, if you assume. Okay, grandfather and grandmother, they have kids. So those kids, they're having kids, how many more years will they have to have grandchildren?
Okay, so they are basically siblings. They looked like
Mhm.
they were married.
Okay. So we are talking about couples only. Couples. It has to be
So
a
they are
sexual
couples now,
relationship.
ma'am.
Yeah.
So they can give birth to a new one in just 1 to 2 years now.
Which couple? How? As soon as they are born, they are becoming couples. A
No,
1 year or 1 year old baby can give rise to a new baby.
No, ma'am.
Then how many years
It
it will
takes
take?
years.
How
It
many
takes
years?
20 or 21 years
Nearly
for
60
them to
years
get a
now.
couple and get a new one.
They will take 21 years. And then grandchildren, how many years will they take?
Grandchildren. You can take 21 into 2, 42 years.
Around 42. That is what this grandfather, for him to become grandfather, it will take 42 years. Okay, so in this 42 years, we are just seeing these subtle differences and some inherited characteristics. But evolution, how much time does an evolution takes? We are just talking, these are the subtle changes we are talking about. We are not talking about the drastic changes. Here, a monkey is not becoming a human being in these changes, what you are seeing.
Yes,
But in
yes, ma'am.
evolutionary changes, we are seeing that a monkey has become a human being and a wolf has become come into a category of the pets like the cat, dogs and all. So evolution takes years, centuries, 300 years or more than that. Like Spanish flu, a new microorganism that happened because of Spanish flu was 100 years ago. After 100 years, again, we are now witnessing this coronavirus. So these changes into these microorganisms or a new variant or a new organism that changes and comes, which are not known to our body, which is attacking us and killing us, takes many hundreds and 200 years. So that is called evolutionary process. So selection of variants by, so how is it happening? How did corona, some bacteria or some virus got converted into corona is through these environmental factor and evolutionary process. So got it? Is it clear now to everyone? Yes or no?
No, ma'am. Can you explain once in Hindi?
अभी बता रही थी मैं कि एक दादा एंड पोता बनने के लिए 40 साल लगेंगे, तो इसको हम एवोल्यूशनरी चेंज नहीं बोलते हैं, इसको जस्ट सब्टल चेंजेस रहेंगे और इनके पास इनहेरिटेड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स रहेंगे। एवोल्यूशनरी चेंज जो आता है उसके लिए कई साल लग जाते हैं, 100 सेंचुरीज लग जाते हैं फॉर कमिंग एवोल्यूशनरी चेंज के लिए। तो ये सेंचुरीज जो लगते हैं, देन वी कॉल इट एवोल्यूशनरी चेंज। वी आर नॉट, दे आर नॉट इनहेरिटेड। वो एक ऑर्गेनिज्म का पूरा शेप, morphology, physiology, even their genetic contents, everything is changing and a new form is coming. जैसे कि एक मंकी से इंसान बन गया आफ्टर सो मेनी सेंचुरीज। तो इसको हम लोग जैसे प्रेडिक्ट कर रहे हैं फ्यूचर में हम लोग ह्यूमन बीइंग्स विल लुक लाइक एलियंस बन जाने वाले हैं, तो पता नहीं और कितने 100 साल रहेंगे उसके बाद वी वुड लुक लाइक दैट। दैट इज व्हाट साइंस इज प्रेडिक्टिंग। सो ये changes, environmental factors and the selection of the variants, say we do experience these evolutionary process. This is called evolutionary process. So is it clear now to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. So can Mustafa, Mujtaba, Arbas or Ashaz is not there in the class?
I am there, ma'am.
Yeah, Ashaz, can you tell me the difference between, generations and evolutions? What is the difference between different generations and evolutionary process? Okay. Then evolutionary process को क्या होता है?
Evolution process को भी 20-30 years लगते हैं.
So are everyone convinced with Asha's answer? तो क्या difference है फिर generations and evolution में? You know, I told you the evolution generations are just becoming changes, gets only subtle changes, whereas evolutionary change जब होगा तो हम देख रहे हैं कि form characteristics, there are so many things that are changing. I've given you a good example of corona as a virus, a new virus that has formed, and a wolf has been changed into a dog. Okay, now if you see this, maybe you will be able to understand it properly. Well, go through this video to understand properly.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Ramsha, tell me.
Ma'am, it's a maths class time and teacher wants to take revision and clear our doubts for test tomorrow. So can we watch it when we go home?
When I'm taking a class, you're not able to understand. Will you be able to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Inshallah, I will. And if so, I'll ask doubt.
Okay, okay. You all can leave. Yes.
Is the
Okay, thanks.
Canada PR
See you
on
later.
your wish list? Canada is looking forward to welcome.
Selective breeding is also known as artificial selection. It is a process by which humans breed plants and animals for particular genetic characteristics. We have been doing this for thousands of years, ever since we first bred food crops from wild plants and started domesticating animals about 10,000 years ago. This is when we made the transition from hunter-gatherers to farmers. We no longer needed to wander around to gather food supplies. Wheat, barley, lentils, peas, rice, and potatoes were all cultivated by early citizens. We also began to tame animals for milk, meat, and hides. Goats, sheep, and chickens are thought to have been the first animals to be domesticated, followed later by bigger animals like horses and oxen for plowing and transportation. Agriculture allowed fewer people to provide more food. Regular, predictable food production led to increased populations and density of people. People now had the time to travel, trade, and communicate. Settlements began growing. The first villages and then cities were built near fields of domesticated plants. Civilization was founded upon selective breeding. How does selective breeding work? Parents with the desired characteristics are selected from a mixed population and are bred together. From the offspring, those with the desired characteristics are then also bred together. This continues over many generations until all the offspring show the desired characteristic. Just think of all the breeds of dog that are around today. These were all selectively bred from a common wolf ancestor. The desired characteristics that we select for can be chosen for usefulness or appearance, such as insect and disease resistance in food crops by breeding from the naturally resistant individuals to increase yields. Animals which produce more meat or milk to increase yields. Domestic dogs with a gentle nature. Large or unusual flowers. We just keep breeding and selecting and breeding once more until we hit the desired jackpot. Look at what we've done to modern chickens in 50 years. It's over 4 times bigger due to selective breeding. By inbreeding parents that are genetically closely related, negative outcomes can arise. The offspring will all share very similar genes, which could make some diseases more dangerous as all individuals would have the same weaknesses. The reduced gene pool also means that they are more vulnerable as they have less chance of being able to adapt to changes in the environment, such as climate change. There's also an increased risk of genetic disease caused by recessive genes. Being genetically very similar, if both parents carry the recessive gene for a genetic disease like cystic fibrosis, then the offspring will all inherit this disease. The white tiger is a good example of severe mutations building up due to the inbreeding of individuals that are too closely related. We have been selectively breeding for thousands of years, getting closer to our desired goal with each generation of offspring. Nowadays, we have come up with a faster way to do it: genetic engineering. We can transplant the gene for a desired characteristic straight into an organism. We will look at genetic engineering in more detail in another video. So there you have selective breeding. We have been doing it since the origins of agriculture and aren't looking to stop anytime soon. We do, however, need to bear in mind the potentially negative outcomes, such as a loss of genetic variety, potentially making the species vulnerable to other diseases.
I was able to generate more than 80 crore rupees in